relationship coach Candace McKenzie, who specializes in helping others connect soul to mate. Ooh. Today she'll help some lovely staff members, our staff members, Jessica, Amy, and Lacey, uncover what's been stopping them in their relationships so they can get the right dates.
That's right.
Yes, absolutely.
And
not just any date, the right date.
Yeah, and before we get to that, first of all, tell us, how did you get into relationship coaching?
Well, truly by accident, I wrote a book about dating, and then from there decided I should go back to school and get a master's in clinical psychology. And so now I clinically work in the field, so I do work with families and couples and individuals.
Perfect. All right, well, take us through how you're going to work with our lovely staff.
Well, before we begin, it's really important to validate these ladies, because this is a big thing. This is very courageous.
I give a validation all day long.
Very brave of them to come on and talk
all
about
the single ladies. Hey. No, it's a courageous thing to come on, and you're here to help other people out, and I really want you to know we're not ostracizing you. We're bringing up things that everybody has issues with, and it's called relationship themes. And what a relationship theme basically is the stuff that you bring into a relationship. It's your junk, it's your coping mechanisms that you bring in, and so that's what we're going to be talking about right now.
How did you become a dating expert?
You know, honestly, I went to the University of Southern California Meat Market.
Oh.
Yes, and I got degrees, and if you're a big-time loser, then you can just come date me now.
I think I got that degree too.
Yeah, I made a lot of bad dating mistakes, and what I realized was I was really fixated in this fantasy mode that just because I believed in love, the universe was just going to open up for me, and my Prince Charming was going to be in front of me. And then I realized, you know what, no, you do have to put a little effort into this. You do have to think about the big picture. You do need to strategize just a little bit when you're looking for the love of your life. So I wrote a book called Be a Dating Darling, and now I'm living my passion, being a dating coach, helping other frustrated singles out there.
Dating is so difficult that to have a coach is probably a real leg up on the competition.
Right, but I think a lot of people go into it and negatively in that sense, and they think, oh, dating is so difficult. Or the worst, because we live here in Los Angeles, I hear that all the time. Dating is so difficult in Los Angeles. Oh, it's for everybody.
Really?
Yeah, it's what you make of it. But you do have to practice. You do have to get out there. You do have to think about what you want. You know, you can't just expect the first person that you go out with is going to be the one. So just like you wouldn't go out there and buy the first car that you saw, you wouldn't go out there and buy
around.
Yeah, you wouldn't go out there and buy the first house. Why would you do that when you're looking for the love of your life? I'm doing everything you told me to do. I can't find anyone. That's when I like to tell people, you know what? It's the universe's way of telling you that maybe you need to take a little time off from dating. It's okay to do that. Why? Because you probably need to do personal homework. Again, people need to remember what you're feeling inside is exactly what you're going to be attracting in your life. So if your career is unsettled, if your life is unsettled, maybe you have a bad body image, maybe you're going through some depression, your life is in flux, that is why you need to take time, do some personal homework, maybe be specific about what you're looking for first. Take that time and then get out there again and look for somebody else.
You know, there's always that saying, Candace, you find love when you're not looking for it.
Exactly, because I like to tell people finding somebody else is like putting a parentheses in the sentence of your life. You know, you can take that parentheses out and your life is still going to go on.
So what is the first thing you need to know about being a successful dater?
Well, I think the first thing I tell any client right off the bat is you need to process yourself first, which I ask clients, are you looking for somebody to add to your happiness, or are you looking for somebody to fill in the void?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Mr. Right or Mr. Right Now. Or
yes.
Mrs. Right Now.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. And nobody can bring you happiness except for yourself, and nobody can bring you sadness except for yourself. And you have to remember that your reality is your own perception. And so many people think, oh, if once I find the one, you know what, life is just going to be wonderful and all my problems are going to go away. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way. When you're looking for a strong emotional backbone, you're looking for longevity, you want to look for deeper emotional qualities, such as, I desire and I deserve for the universe to bring to me someone who's peaceful, someone that I'm inspired by, somebody that's introspective, somebody that is creative. Make it your own, but be specific and think about longevity of a relationship, what it's going to work like. Maybe a good communicator might be something good to think about.
So just like we're going to make a list to go to the grocery store, these are things we can either write down or just be very mindful of.
To find the right partner, you have to become the right partner too. I'm a big believer in that. You've got to check in with yourself. You have to visualize, how am I going to become the right partner now? Or how am I going to become a better partner now? Look back at your past relationships. What did not work out? It's really important for you to say, you know, how did I take responsibility in this past relationship? Check in with yourself. Become
the healthiest partner that you possibly can before you meet somebody else, because don't expect that when you're meeting somebody else you're going to be able to work through those issues and that person's going to solve your own problems.
Kind of like how Wayne Dyer says they're really just a reflection of what you hold inside.
Exactly. But, you know, be a strong individual first before you're looking for a partnership.
And when somebody is too accessible for somebody else, and if you're too available, that signals to me that there is poor boundaries. That's your relationship theme. And so where did you learn poor boundaries from? Where I'm getting a sense of like there's a caretaking theme or a caretaking issue, and a lot of women do that. I think that's just part of being a female, that we feel that maybe from our mothers or from our family that we have to be there to make the relationship be a certain way. The first thing you want to do is you want to let go of agendas. An agenda is, it's a great idea to have a dating goal, but you don't want to lead off with the agenda of, I have to get married, I have to have children now, I have to have a boyfriend, da-da-da-da-da-da. Because then it gives off a very controlling type of energy too as well. So again, you want to stick to your dating goals, but instead you want to open yourself up to realize you want to wait for the right person to fit in that agenda. Nothing again wrong with, you know, thinking and focusing on a plan, but you don't want to have the tick 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 tock. I'm ready to get married. I'm ready to have your child on a first date. You know, too much too soon.
What is a boundary? What is a ultimatum when you give somebody like, this is what I'm standing for, this is what I want? I walk.
I just, you know, I get an icky feeling inside when I hear their ultimatum. I'm sure that a lot of men here may feel that way too as well. I feel like ultimatum leaves, it's a demand, if you will. It's a negative energy that you're giving. You're demanding that other person to make a sacrifice, if you will. Instead, what I like to tell my clients is really clarify your needs, clarify your intentions about what you need. So instead of presenting it of, you should marry me, you need to put a ring on my hand right now, we need to move in together, we need to be exclusive. Instead, you put it around and say, I need for this relationship to move into another level. And
But when do you say that?
I don't think you should ask for commitment until after 3 months. And that's exclusivity. That's not saying I love you. Because
You're
I
not
think
talking about getting married. You're talking about just exclusivity.
I'm just saying just exclusivity. I think that it's monogamy before sex. Absolutely.
Don't you think also that to give somebody an ultimatum basically tells you what's going on? I mean,
yes, it's not exactly. There's a sense of you're worried about controlling the other person, really not controlling who you are and what your needs are. Does that make sense? So it's okay to have healthy boundaries.
And it often comes from something from their past. If there's an ultimatum, it means something in their past went badly, and now they're trying to say, well, now I want this because of somebody else.
Exactly.
And that's
right. Or there's something in their past where they weren't able to set appropriate boundaries, and they don't know how to walk away from something that's a disaster. Possibly. The first thing you want to do is body language, and everybody always rolls their eyes when I say this. Oh, that's just such common sense. But it really does make a difference. If someone's going to walk to you across the room and they're hunched over, if they're fidgeting, if they're not looking at you, maybe if they're not standing up tall, you're just going to be like, this person's not quite confident. So body language says everything. Slow down your speech, really pay attention to that person. Your first date should only be a cup of coffee or glass of wine in a very public location. Really? Why? Because if the date goes wrong, you know, and then you're at a dinner date, or God forbid you're at a secluded park or a remote hiking trail, there's nowhere to run. Right. And that we have an out to. I always tell people Monday through Thursday, cup of coffee, glass of wine only. It's just a chemistry date. Obviously, you want to see if you have chemistry with the person. You want to see if there's magnetism. But then also too as well, you can get through your deal breakers. You can find out more about the person. But if things don't work out, guess what? You have an out. You can say, oh, I'm so sorry. I've got lots of meetings tomorrow, but thank you so much. Bye-bye. It can be very overwhelming for a lot of people, especially if they've been out of the dating scene. Everybody's a little weary about online dating because people think it's for kooks and losers and weirdos. We've talked about this before. I tell people, how do you not know the person you met at a bar or in a gym is not a kook, loser, or weirdo? It's the same thing as traditional dating. You just have to be smart and practical about it. Online dating is like old-fashioned dating. You have to use common sense. You have to slow things down. You want to be realistic about things. You want to make sure that you really know this person before, like this young girl, you go on a first date, you hop on a motorcycle with them, and you just go off. And ways to do that is, you know, have a couple phone conversations. Be realistic. Don't think looking at their picture or they have a nice voice on the phone that, well, I'll just trust them. I'll let them come pick me up at my house. Meet them at selected locations. There are 1,000 Starbucks or great places to go for a glass of wine or maybe just to grab an appetizer, dessert. Meet them for a couple of times, get to know them a little bit before you go to their house house, let them pick you up. Before you give them your home address, before you give them your work address. You know, some people can just, we don't have the best intuitions about people right up front. Should I get a professional photographer and spend a lot of money? And I'm like, well, no, because the photographer is going to use special lighting. If you're a woman, there's going to be extra makeup and really big hair, and you're not going to look like your photo. And that's you. Yeah, and that's the biggest complaint that people tell me and that I see is that nobody looks like their photos. Yeah. And please have an updated photo. That's a big thing, too. A lot of people have photos that are like 10 years old.
Yeah, the whole photo thing, though. Imagine if the online dating service didn't have any photos. All that was there is what you like, don't like, hobbies,
Hey, that's what something like eHarmony is.
But
you
that's
can't
the way
see
it used
a
to be.
picture for a
Remember,
while.
the blind date was blind until you saw who the person was.
I think that's wasting your time. If your person is not going to put a picture up online, then they're ashamed of who they are and how they look. And beauty comes in all shapes and sizes.
Let's see some more bad pictures.
Yeah.
A lot of the girls put, I like someone to laugh with. Everybody puts that. And so, and again, is that a lifelong quality to have till death do you part? Maybe you want to put a good communicator, you know? Someone who's spiritual, spirituality is important in your life. Do you want kids? Do you not want to have kids? Age is really important to put a boundary of that. And are you okay with blended families? Because this is a big thing. And studies show that blended families can positively do very well, but you need to be prepared for that.
If comedy and laughing is really important, could it be more specific by saying, these are my favorite movies?
Yeah, and that's fine to say.
Because then people know what your sense of humor is like.
Right, and I don't have a problem to say I want someone to laugh with and to have fun with, but that was all that was sort of there as far as looking. Does that make sense? Yeah. That needs to be something more than that. Yeah. Because we can have a great time, you know, laughing with somebody, but then, you know, as the years go by, their jokes aren't funny anymore. You know what I'm saying? They're just not funny anymore. That's where you want to stay away from what I like to call too frisky type of Freddy Kruegers or, you know, the lizard kissers.
Guys in graphic t-shirts.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So again, you know, obviously if a man, or, you know, women can be that way too, puts their hand on your knee like for the first date, that's so tacky. Don't you have that? Man, please don't do that. If a woman crosses her legs and he immediately, like 5 minutes in the day, puts his hand on your knees, don't you just think that's very tacky?
Gross.
You know, they obviously just want one thing. Obviously, lizard kissers, you know how guys feel, you know how I feel about
What's a lizard kisser?
Yeah. Lizard kisser, you know, like they're shoving the tongue down
I thought you were
your
going to demonstrate.
throat.
I got nervous.
No, we're not going to do that. This is a daytime television show, so.
I was like, I just got a lizard kiss from the Dating Dolly.
Yes, we'll leave that to Flavor Flav, okay? Yeah, we'll leave that to that show.
You were suggesting, since men are such visual creatures, to get a big piece of paper, trace their bodies, and then have them draw on that where they would like to be touched or where you want them to touch you.
Exactly, because sometimes, especially for women, you're a bit shy or you don't really know how to communicate, and it's just kind of a fun, sexy thing to do. You both can have a glass of wine, and you know, you don't have to be the best drawer in the world, but just, honey, just have a piece of paper and a pen and just go to town. A little stick figure, whatever it is. But, you know, have your man take a pen and say, this is where I like to be touched. This is where I'm missing a little affection from you. Okay. And now give the pen to her. Where would you like to be touched? What is it that makes you, you know, feel sexy? And most likely you'll find, you know, for a woman, it's not just so much about the physical. For us, it's about, you know, the auditory, about the listening skills for us. The first thing I tell people is just definitely process those emotions. Shout those emotions out. I think a lot of people just think, oh, I'm just going to race through it because it's Christmas, whatever. I'm just going to have some drinks. I'm going to party with my friends, and I don't need that person, da-da-da-da. And then what happens is you're digging a deeper black hole. You'll have probably some physical ailments, maybe some depression's going to start to really be ingrained in yourself. So deal with it. If it's shouting is not your thing, jogging, journaling, going out with your friends, just sit with those emotions, do what you can, and try to deal with them.
But don't bury them, and don't ignore them.
Don't ignore them, and don't bury them. That's the most important. Bring everything to light you possibly can. So this is what we do in the relationships. We get burned once, and then we become afraid, and then we are just leading with fear of getting hurt again. And you have to realize that when you're looking for love, like anything in life, you have to take that risk. And part of that is really examining in yourself of like, how can I release being afraid? How can I trust? How can I surrender that I'm going to be okay? And I'm going to let my guard down and my armor down and give somebody a try.